Hello guys, welcome back to this series of AngularJS, and as you know that we are covering the TypeScript these days. So in this TypeScript I'm going to discuss about the classes in this video. So basic TypeScript things will be covered till today, and from tomorrow onwards we will be back to the AngularJS. So I just wanted you to know about the TypeScript so that you are comfortable when we are writing the code, when we are trying to understand the code. So you should not feel alienatic. You should feel like yes, you know something, you know about the TypeScripts in which the Angular programs are written. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the classes, and inside the classes we can create the constructors. I hope you are aware about the constructors, and getter and setters. I hope you are already aware about them, and the default arguments. If you have idea about the C++ basic language concepts, basically C++ language or Java or the C# language, then you might be aware about all these things: classes, constructors, getters, setters, and default arguments. So first, let me write a simple class and let's demo that how we can use it. So I'm going to write a class here, class complex number. You might have heard about the complex numbers, which contains the real part and the imaginary part. If you are a student of mathematics, then you might have seen that. You might have studied that. So let me just write it like a is a number, and here you need to provide the variable name and end this with the semicolon rather than comma. In case of interfaces, we have used the comma, but in case of classes, we need to use this semicolon. So B, I will store the imaginary part. So this will be B, and now I'm going to create a constructor, right? So constructors are basically those which are created, which are called when your object is getting created. So I'm just going to create one constructor here, and for constructing the class object, we need to use the keyword constructor to write the constructor, right? So just like other languages where you use the name of the class itself to declare the constructor, here in TypeScript you don't need to use that. Rather, you need to use this keyword constructor, right? I just want to give the two numbers, real, which is of type number, and then imag, imaginary, which is also of type number, right? And what I will do here, I will simply do like this dot a is equal to real. Please don't forget to use this keyword. This dot a is equal to real, and this dot b is equal to imaginary, right? So these are the two parts of the complex number. So I have provided the real part and the imaginary part in a and b respectively, and now I just want to display the real and imaginary parts and the complex number actually here. So I'm going to write a function here, show me. You don't need to use the keyword function here. You simply write show me, and what you can do here, you can simply do like this: console.log the complex number is this dot a plus I into the imaginary part, which is this dot b, right? So I will just create the instance of this class. How to create the instance of the class? You can simply write like this: let c is equal to new complex number, and here you need to pass the two arguments, which are the real and imaginary part of the number, the complex number, and then you can just call the functions show me. All right, so let's run it and let's see what is the output. First compile it, and then we just need to see the output. Okay, so you can see the complex number is 12. I think I should have written like this: plus I into this. Oh, this was the correct way. So let me just recompile it and let me just show you again. Okay, so 12 plus I into 10. So this is the way you represent your complex numbers, right? So this is the way you can use a class, a basic use of the class, and how to create a class. This is the basic use of that. And apart from that, we can see that what was the JavaScript code which was created after the compilation. So let's see. So here you can see like where complex number is equal to function, and then inside this function, this JavaScript conversion, you cannot see any of the class keywords here in the JavaScript, because in the JavaScript there is no such thing like class. But TypeScript is a valid JavaScript which is converted to a JavaScript. So TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. That's why we say that TypeScript is the superscript of the JavaScript. This was the thing which I told you in the very first part of the TypeScript. So you must need to remember this, and you can see that if you have to write something just like a class in JavaScript, then how you can convert it and how you can use it, how you can write it. Somewhere if you are writing some JavaScript and you don't understand, if you know the TypeScript and if you are not able to understand that how to write it into the JavaScript, you can use the transpilation, and then you can convert the TypeScript into the JavaScript, and then you can provide your code. Okay, so this is the way you can use the class. Now let's move ahead to the constructors. I have already told you about the constructors, that you need to use the constructor keyword. And another thing that you need to remember is that constructors cannot be overloaded. Okay, please remember this. You cannot overload a constructor. What does that mean? If you want to create one more constructor like this, constructor and real with number, and then imaginary with number, and then you want to pass something else like dummy, and that is also a number, and you want to use this, then you can see that you are able to see the errors here. Multiple construction implementations are not allowed, so you cannot overload the constructors in the TypeScript, right? So what you should do, what will be the correct way if you sometimes want to provide the value of the real part, and sometimes you don't want to provide the value of the real and imaginary parts, then what you should do, you can do one thing. Rather than using these A and B here, you can simply remove them, and you can use a question mark here. So this question mark shows that these are the default arguments. Okay, so with the question mark you create the default arguments. So here if you want to write again it, then you need to write like something like this: real is equal to real, and this dot imaginary is equal to imaginary. Yes, so why is this real? It should have been printed with the real. Real does not exist on type complex number. So I hope this is the correct one. I don't think this is the wrong one. Okay, so this is where I think the problem is. And we just need to quick fix. Declare property real number and declare property this. Okay, so you need to declare this, and sorry, real, and this is imaginary. Okay, so if I provide here like 12 only and not provide the imaginary, then let's see what happens. Will it give me an error or will it compile? Okay, so it will compile because I have provided imaginary as the default argument, as the optional argument, not default. The correct word is optional argument. So let's see if node will be able to compile it. Yes, so you can see that 12 plus I into undefined because I have not provided, right? So if imaginary is undefined or real is undefined, you can convert the code into providing the real and imaginary parts as the values 0. So you can do that, you can do it yourself, right? So basic thing you might have understood about the complex numbers, that how they can be used. So this show function is working here, and this constructor, about the constructor you might have understood that they cannot be overloaded. And now let's see about the getter and setters. I'm just going to write the getters and setters. So rather than real, I'm using this underscore real and underscore imaginary, and I'm just going to write like this. So here it will be like real and imaginary. So here I'm going to write some function get real. Then it will be like this, return this dot underscore real. And I want to write a getter for the imaginary part as well. So imaginary. So you might have understood that why I have renamed this to like underscore real and underscore imaginary, right? Because I have to create these variables. So for the better readability, I did that. So here you need to write like something like this, return this dot underscore imaginary. Okay guys, so this dot real and this dot imaginary, these two things are here now. And we need to write the setters as well. So write the setter for real, set real, and here you can pass like real and it is a number. And what you can do, this dot underscore real is equal to real. Okay, and similarly I'm going to write a setter for the imaginary. So it's like set and imaginary, and here I'm also passing like imaginary, and that is also a number. Then I'm just going to write like this dot imaginary is equal to imaginary. Okay guys, so here also you need to convert it into underscore real and underscore imaginary. Okay, so let me just do one thing. I'm just writing complex number and I'm not providing any value here. And one more thing about the classes before I move ahead. All the data members and functions in the class by default in the class are public by default. This you need to remember, that everything is public by default. It's not like in C++ or Java, which is like private. In case of C++, if you don't provide any specifier, then it means it's a private variable or it's a private function. But in case of TypeScripts, it's by default the public. So this is public, this constructor is public, this real and imaginary getter setters, all these are public. This show me function is also public. Okay, so let me just do one thing. C dot imaginary real is equal to C dot real is equal to 10, and C dot imaginary is equal to 12, right? So here what I'm doing, if I'm passing it some value, then it means I'm calling the setters, right? When I'm calling like this C dot real, then I'm calling this setter for setting this as a real value. And now let's see what is the value that it will display and how to display that. Let me just do one thing. Let me just make these as private. So now I will make these as private so that I cannot directly use them. I should access them through the properties, through the getter and setters. Okay, so let me just call show me and let's see what it prints. So if you want to print by your own, then you can do something like this, because show me is already printing this. I just want to do something like by my own. I just want to print it just to demonstrate you. The complex number is plus c dot real and plus I into plus c dot imaginary, right? So here what I'm doing here, when I'm using c dot real, then where it is going? It is going here to the getter, and it is getting the value from the class, right? So that will be the real part, and then the next one is the imaginary part. So let's compile it and let's see, and let's close this as well, because so here you can see that there are 4 errors. It is showing you the 4 errors, but ultimately it will convert it into the compatible JavaScript code. It is showing you that its SSRs are only available when targeting ECMA script 5. So these ECMA scripts and all these things I will discuss you in some video, because these are JavaScript specifications, like script versions. Like these days you might have heard about the EE6, ES6, all those are the versions of JavaScript. So it says that you don't have ECMA script 5, and that is why this is not getting converted. But still, this will work for me, because it will be converted into the the TypeScript. It will convert the TypeScript into the valid JavaScript code. Whatever the compatible JavaScript code is, this particular TypeScript will be converted into that code, right? So if I run this, it will work fine. You can see that the complex number is c.real and c.imaginary. This thing is working fine, but this getter and setter are available after the ECMA script 5. So that's why it was complaining. But if you will see here in the TypeScript section and in the TypeScript.js, then you can see that it has converted, like object.property defined. So this is all you can see, that getter and setters, how these are written in the JavaScript, right? So you might have not seen that how these are written, but today, after converting from the TypeScript, you might have seen that how you can write the same getters and setters for the JavaScripts. Okay, so this is the power of the TypeScript. This is how the TypeScripts can be used, and this is enough for you as of now for moving ahead with me in the coming AngularJS videos, right? So you need to just practice these concepts related to the classes, the interfaces, and all those things. So you can just write your own sample code just for your convenience and just for your practice, so that you get used to it and you don't face any problems with that, right? While you understand the code, while you write your own code, right? So this is the way you can do this. You can achieve this these things. So here it should be optional arguments. I have told you about the optional arguments, not the default arguments, right? So these were the optional arguments. Okay, so you might have understood now that how you can use it, and what is the purpose of writing the classes. And when you will write your own code, then you will understand that where you have to use the classes, because you will use the classes in the form of modules, and those modules you will be using in different files, in your different files in your Angular project. So this will really help you, because you have to why we use the class, because we have to encapsulate the functionality and the data members in a single entity, and that single entity is a class, and that is why we used to write the class. And this is the same purpose here. And once you have understood it, you will be able to write the good code, that is for sure. So have a nice day, guys, and that's all for today. And I would request you guys to please like, subscribe my channel, share my videos, and share with your friends, and let them know that they can watch the videos on my channel, and they can get the benefit from it. Okay, so have a nice day, guys, and bye bye.